want to thank you very, very much for all being here. This is our kickoff, and I'm excited that you're all part of the program. I think that you're going to find this to be an experience that you wouldn't have otherwise, and it's really practical from the perspective of what you're going to be doing. You'll be able to do it because it has real-world applications. So I'll give you more about the speeches later. But first I want to talk about is I want to say that the 4 C's are so important for what we're looking for industries using for the 21st century. And the 4 C's are communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. And the overall part of this program is that you'll be utilizing those 4 C's to actually do innovation, which is what the piece that you're going to create. One of the things that is really, really important is when we talk about communication and we talk about collaboration and working together and we're talking about critical thinking, what exactly does that mean with what we're doing here? Well, one of the things that you'll see and that you're going to experience is the fact that not only will you be doing the creation of it, but you'll also be learning specifically skills in each one of those 4 areas. And the skills that you're going to be learning will be directly applied to how you are going to create this piece. So what's really important is that most of you, being a professor here, I know that you're all freaking out about tests, this is going to be this. No. What you're going to have, though, are, you're a pilot program. This has never been done before. And the objective of what it is that you're going to be doing, we will be doing some research. So we're going to want to see what you know about communication before you start the project with some surveys and stuff. And then we're going to see what you learned about it at the end of it. So there'll be like surveys throughout so that we have a barometer, a database to see and track how this program's going. So I could talk forever, but I'm not going to do that because what's more important is the fact of the people that are here. And the people that are here are amazing. I just want to introduce for you first. I also want to introduce somebody who's not senior, but is very important with what we're doing, and that is Professor Stevens. He is, Dr. Stevens is from the University of UT Tyler, and you've seen, when you went on the website, you saw IAE, right? Innovation, Advancing Education. Now, normally you would think you're going to educate first, and then you're going to innovate. We're going to do it different. That's what this is about. We're going to innovate and then be able to educate. You folks are frontier people because if how this works, this could be duplicated all over the country. You could be famous. You think what was it, Dancing with the Stars and all that is? You guys could be like, who knows? That's where this is going. Think big. But Dr. Stevens has helped me and our team. He's part of the team. He's part of IAE, if you checked out who we are. And we just presented a paper on this in Albuquerque, New Mexico, about the hybrid approach, which this is. So you'll learn more about that. But Dr. Stevens, thank you for taking time out and coming here.
I just came from a meeting with our provost. We are going to conduct a search for a new dean of education. She talked about 2 things. The need nationwide, but also specifically in the state of Texas, for critical thinking. The legislature is very concerned about this, as is the coordinating board, and also creativity. I think I heard that word 5 times in the speech this morning, in the discussion this morning. So you folks are ahead of the learning curve in this state, and I'm excited to work with Alan and Dawn and be part of this project.
And we're excited. I mean, thank you for being a part of this, Doc. He's my mentor. He's kind of like taking me under his wing. He'll deny it, though. He'll deny it. I know. I also want to introduce Don Bristow, who is the artist for this piece. And I want to acknowledge Sandy, his wife, who was the one who called you. And she's been, thank you, Sandy, for all that you've done and helping us get this going. And so I'm going to give it to Don.
Thank you, Mr. Ippolito. How many of you have liked our Facebook page? 2, 3, 4. If you haven't, please do. It's easy to remember, I think. Facebook.com/Creative Force Tryptych. And we're going to keep the latest information about events and progress available on that Facebook page. I am a photographer primarily, but I'm also a fractal artist, and the work of art that you're going to create compositions for is a work of fractal art in 3 parts. I'm going to turn the lights off. Al, if you could get that side.
Sure.
This is the piece that you'll create your compositions you'll describe this piece in your compositions, I'll say it that way. Yeah, go ahead and turn it on. So the piece is in 3 parts. The actual real piece hasn't been put on aluminum yet, but it will be on aluminum. Each panel is 4 feet by 4 feet, so it makes it a little over 12 feet across. This piece actually defines the structure of your project, so there's some constraints, and I'll go through those. First of all, the piece consists of 3 panels, so your compositions will be in 3 parts. Second, each panel is completely unique from one another, and I'll show you that by showing you the individual panels. They're not best in order. There's the middle panel. The middle panel can stand all by itself as a piece of art. It doesn't need the parts on either of the other sides to make it a complete piece. Same with the left panel. Doesn't look like the middle panel at all, does it? And then the far right panel is right here. Also, it doesn't look like the left panel. Doesn't really look like the middle panel. However, when they're all seamed together, it makes one great piece of work. So there's a challenge for you musicians to create a piece of music in 3 parts. Each part describes a separate panel, but then together, when they're seamed together, it's greater than the individual parts. Does that make sense to everybody here? It's kind of challenging. Now, that's the only constraint we have. You can use any instrumentation that you like. In fact, you can use as many people as you like. It's just we need the team of composers to be 3. And the reason we chose 3 is because you will be challenged to communicate with one another, to collaborate with one another, and use critical thinking with one another. And that's an unusual thing to do in music composition. This image will be made available to you so that you need to know what it looks like in order to create your piece. First of all, it'll be made available online electronically. We'll send you out a link to a fairly good high-resolution version until we get the piece put on aluminum. When the piece is put on aluminum, we're going to have it installed in a location that you can see before the public sees it. And your music is going to be used for a very special purpose. That will be to unveil this major piece of art to the public. And that will be an event. We don't know where. Do we know where it's going to be?
We'd like it to be at the Tyler Museum of Art next door.
That'll be a great place for it to happen. So an unveiling ceremony. I don't think many people have seen them in Tyler, but it's the piece. Your music will be played as the panels are unveiled individually in any order that your music wants it to be. I mean, I don't care if we go middle panel, right panel, left panel. Doesn't matter. That's your choice. However your music needs to be. We're also going to have an art show at the same time. Student artists from TJC will exhibit. Let's see. The music is going to very much enhance the unveiling event and enhance the art. It's going to add meaning to the art that otherwise the public that sees it might not understand or see. So that's what I'm looking for you musicians to create a piece of music that adds meaning and interprets these panels. Okay, now it is my honor to introduce to you composer, arranger, consultant, and performer Alfred Lee. Alfred Lee graduated from the College of Music at the University of North Texas with a degree in music composition. But he began studying music at the age of 8, and his musical talent became public just 3 years later when he won the National Keyboard Competition in Malaysia. Mr. Lee has performed in the St. Andrew's Cathedral in Sydney, Australia during the 2000 Olympic Games, in the Dora Stratou Theatre by the Acropolis in Athens, Greece during the 2004 Olympic Games, at various churches in the London area during the 2012 Olympic Games, at the House of Parliament in Sydney, Australia. He performed during the Dallas premiere of the movie Star Wars Episode 2. He composed the opening piece for the 2002 Mary-Kate Cosmetics annual convention. He won the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra's first Young Composer competition and was finalist in the San Jose Symphony Orchestra's Composer competition. The ASCAP Foundation recognized Mr. Lee with special distinction with the 23rd Annual Rudolf Nissim Award for Classical Composers. And works by Alfred Lee have been commissioned and performed by a long list of bands and orchestras that include the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra and the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra of London. And there are so many more accomplishments that Mr. Lee has done. Too much for me to list here. So it is a great pleasure that I bring to you our guest composer, Mr. Alfred Lee.
A very good afternoon to all of you. It's nice to see all of you here. So are you all excited? You all don't look excited. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I am excited because when it comes to music, I'm always excited. You know, people always ask me, well, what excites you most? I always say music. Has always been. I think I was born that way because my mom used to say that, I was 3 or 4 years old and I was playing with a toy piano. And the toy piano went upside down, and I was sticking my fingers underneath and still playing. So that tells you a little bit. Now, the reason why I asked that question is, if you're all here, you're going to be composing a work. And if you're going to be composing a work, you got to be excited about it. You got to know that you have it within you to do this. All right? Someone asks you, are you going to be able to compose this work? And you'll have to say, yes, I know I will. I know I'm able to, because that excitement needs to be in you. And you got to be absolutely, let's see, the word is, you got to value the gift that you have, or let me say the product that you're going to be putting out. You can't sell your product if you yourself don't believe in it. So I believe in my compositions. Someone asked me one time, which composer do you like the most? And now this is not pride. Myself. And they laugh at me as they know it was not out of pride because, hey, I like myself. I got to like myself. I like all the other composers, but I like myself more because I'm working with myself. All right? So, talking about composing a work with 3 parts. When I ask you a question, you're going to be composing a work for 3 parts. What would be your inspiration? Can you answer? What would be your inspiration?
And in this case, wouldn't it be the fractal?
That's correct. See, he answered for you. Steve just answered for you. You should already know what your inspiration. That's a good part. For me, it's kind of hard when someone says, compose a piece for me. We want an opening piece for our inaugural performance. And I have to struggle. I have to go back and think. Now, what do I write? What is my inspiration? So I have to struggle. That's part of the time right there, the creativity. But you do not have to have that problem because you already have your inspiration and it is this art work, right? You're looking at it. What goes through your mind when you look at it? Come on, it's interactive. You got to speak. This is part of the 4 C's. Communicate.
Joy.
Joy. That's good. Why joy? Which part is joy? The first part?
Yellow. The yellow part.
The second part?
Yes.
Because it's bright. So he's talking about colors, all right? What else?
I would say live.
Life?
The-
Life.
The start of it, you start into the middle panel, and it's like it's just starting its color, and it's right in the middle, like it could be an Oz, and it's ending the way it would kind of close, but not with a bad ending, with light around it, but still ended in the middle.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. See, that's the idea. Birth, and then you have this figure in life, and then of course you're heading towards the other part of life, the latter part of life. It could be that. So that's good. You're seeing things within the visual. In this case, you have a work. You have visual. And when it comes to visual, music is a very powerful tool. But music is not visual. Music is oral. It's ear, listening. But when you have a visual, the visual is always more powerful. Much, much more powerful than what you hear. Do you all agree with me? Because when you search, if I play something really strange and you're looking at this and you go like, yeah, it does not match. Just like a horror movie and I'm playing Scott Joplin. You're going like, that doesn't match because the visual is very important. But if I just play Scott Joplin, in your mind you'll be thinking maybe deers jumping up and down or fairies moving from one corner of the stage to the other. So visual is very, very strong. So in this case you have a visual. You don't let the music tell you what is going on. The music is telling you what is going on with this picture right here. So the picture tells you, and the music is going to help enhance the experiences that Mr. Briscoe has explained. So that's part of creativity here, okay? Now, 3 of you working together. Is that going to be a problem?
We need all the help.
Wow, you're very optimistic. I've encountered problems. And I only work with a lyricist, but if you have 3 composers working together, there might be a problem. What problem do you foresee?
Disagreements on different meanings of the picture.
Correct.
Has an opinion.
Huh?
Everyone has an opinion.
Everyone has an opinion. Not only that, the difference of style. Because you have to decide how you want to write this work. You have to understand. You cannot have one classical, jazz, and techno. Because at the very end, it's still a whole piece, right? So the transitioning from, you have to have some sort of a connection as a whole. Now, if it's just one panel, that's fine. I'll put one panel over there, one panel over here. You can play jazz there, techno there, and rap at the back. It doesn't matter. But you can't do that. For this you can't, because it is a set and it's a whole. All right? So the problems come with deciding. Now, how can you all work together? That's very, very important. Now, for me, I love to talk, as you can tell. I love to talk. I talk it out. When I have a problem, I talk it out. But then there is also time to listen. Now, listening is very important when it comes to music. Very important when it comes to music, all right? Now, I want you at this moment to close your eyes. Just use your ears. All right? Just use your ears, and I want you to just listen. All right? Here we go. you hear?
Accomplishment, victory.
Accomplishment, victory, but you hear an orchestra, right? Okay, what goes through your mind? Can this be accomplished with one instrument?
No.
Why not? I just did it.
Yeah.
Huh? Well, I would assume so. With technology nowadays, you can do it. But most people will think, well, some of it is programmed and you just play part of it, right? That normally is what people will think. It's impossible for 10 fingers to do that. Well, it's not impossible. Now again, not pride, not patting myself on my back. It's just to encourage you to think outside the box. To think outside the box. That is where innovation comes from. Think outside. It's okay to have the inside, it's okay to have the structure. Music theory is absolutely important. But there are certain things that do not work with music theory. Set of music theory for classical does not really work for the set of theory for jazz music. They're separate. But that's not to say jazz is wrong when you apply it to classical music, and classical music is wrong when you apply it to jazz music. No. It's just a set of music theory, it's a foundation. You got to have that. You got to have that. Because with this artwork right here, I don't think Mr. Bristol just threw colors upon the canvas and whatever comes out, comes out. I don't think so, right? There is a way that you achieve this. You call it fractal. Can you explain a little bit about fractal?
Fractal art is art generated by mathematical formulas.
Okay.
And of course, I have to compose these pieces.
That's correct.
I have to look for the art, look hard, and composition is the toughest part.
That's
Visual
right.
composition.
See, so there's a form, there's a structure. Mathematical formulas. That's important to think about when you write a piece for this work. Maybe you can use little things, as a formula and then grow from that. Ideas, just throwing it out for you. Just ideas. Now with music, artists uses color, as you can see. Bright colors gives you a different kind of feeling. Dark colors give you a different kind of feeling. When it comes to music, how does music create different things to evoke different expressions and feelings?
Consonance and dissonance,
Consonance and
resolution,
dissonance, what else?
modulations.
Modulations, okay. What else?
What kind of key? Major key, minor key, diminished,
Minor, major, diminished, yes, that's right. Augmented, you have all the different kind of harmonies. Okay, what else?
Rhythm, the style.
Rhythm, style of music. There's one very important thing that you all have to be thinking about from the very beginning.
The meaning.
Huh? No. With music, you got to think about what? Instrumentation. That's very, very important because you will be performing this work in a way. You can't let the computer do it, but if you decide you want to use the computer, then that's the way you are going to go. But you still have to decide how you're going to instrument, the piece of work for this piece of art here. All right. So musicians, composers can use different things to color the work. All right. So you have a huge palette to use. You have sounds, the sonore, we call it, the sounds. You have oboe, you have the clarinet, and you have the violin, right? Strings, and you have brass and timpani. Lots of things you can do. And then you talk about harmony. Major, minor, right? Finish. Augmented. This is an interesting sound. Listen to it. Floating sound. Yeah. Right? So a lot of things you can do with music. You can color it many, many ways. Okay, another thing with music is theme. Theme. When you talk about form in music, you've got to come up with a theme. Now we talk about movies here. Movies always have a theme. You have this one. When I play that, what goes to your mind? What movie is that? Yeah, see? So when people play your music, they'll go, creative Force Tryptych. Right? So theme is also very important. And how you use the theme, that also will be part of the judging process. Because I'm one of the judges. So I'm telling you, that's one thing I'll be looking for, is how you use your theme. And themes then can be inverted, okay, can be inverted, which means if you have, you invert it, see that? Invert it. You all know this by Paganini? Paganini. Rachmaninoff used it, invert it. He inverted, and here is what you get. Now you go, okay, now how can a musician tell that I'm inverting, that I'm using this theme and no, musicians can tell, I can tell. So if you invert it, I know you're inverting it. If you major minor it, I know you're major minoring. Okay, so that's very important. One of the best composers out there that uses theme, but very short theme, very short, which I would assume that you might want to use, I'm not saying you should, you might want to use, is short themes, thematic. Why? Because this is fractal. So think of it, fractal. This is a composer who's very good with it, and you know him. Hear that all over. Very short theme, short thematic, but it's used all over. So that can be a form that you can use that will connect all three panels. All right, something for you to think about. Now, as a composer, the problems that I've gotten into really is most of the time instrumentation. Who do you get to perform your music? That's very, very important. I know you all have to work together, 3 in a group, but then later on you have to be thinking, actually not later on, it should be right at the very beginning, because you're writing a work and you know it's going to have to be performed. So how is it going to be performed? That's very important from the very beginning. Because you find yourself at the very end, you have this beautiful work, and you have nobody to play it for you. What is the use? Unless you can play yourself, you know, that's very, very important. When I composed this work for the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra, it was so wonderful that the musicians there are top-notch. I've been blessed in a way to have good symphonies play my work. but sometimes you get a group that does not have that kind of capability. So you got to think of that from the very, very beginning. Because you might have a good work, but if the performance is bad, I might think that you have actually written a really, really bad work. So composers always have that problem. So something that you all need to think about from the very, very beginning. All right? Okay. Now, let me play a work for you that I have written. This is for organ and orchestra. But I am just going to be able to play not all of the parts, but I'll try and attempt to play both of the parts for you so that you'll be able to hear the work as a whole, all right? Now you want to hear this, be looking for this theme. The other one, fractal, really, really short. Alright, so that's the two themes right here. Okay, here we go. Just an example of the work here for organ and orchestra. thinking outside the box. Thinking, it's really interesting thinking outside the box. When I first got this instrument and took it here, brought it here actually from Malaysia at the year of 1991. I was 18 years of age then. 1991. So you do the math, you know how old I am today. Not as young as you think I am. I never thought that this instrument could do all that it is doing now for me. So I say that to you because I want you to know you never stop learning. You never stop learning. It's something that you need to think about when you work together with a group. Learn from each other. Learn from each other. That's the one thing that you need to know. And I have learned many things from myself. I sometimes surprise myself, from my friends, from co-workers. Those things are all very, very important. And then you can grow together. Nobody can live by themselves, alone. You need friends. You need people that you can work together, hand in hand. That, as a composer, I've learned. Because I cannot play, I might be able to play all this for you, but it's still wonderful to just sit back and watch someone else play your work. Because I'm out of breath right now. I can't be doing this all the time. So, which means that when I write a piece of work, I know that I'm going to have someone, I'm going to need to have someone to play the work, right? So think of that. So something, all these are just pointers, all right, just pointers. Okay, think of the people who have created this instrument. Do they know music? I'm sure they do a little bit, not that much, but a little bit. But I'm sure they have to work with musicians to know what to come up with. They have to create these instruments. If I open, now you look at this instrument, you know it looks like any instrument. It has keys, except all these buttons, but organs nowadays have buttons. It looks like an instrument. But once I take this cover off and the keys out, you get all these boards in there. It looks really, really out of the world for me. When I open it up and look at it, I'm more like, okay, this is totally a different world for me. You can use something like that for your performances. If you can play, by all means do it, because nobody else can interpret the music as well as you, because you compose the work. So by all means, if you can perform it, do it. Because you do a different, you play it so differently from others. You might not have time to talk to the performers, and like in my case, I can talk to 105 musicians for my orchestral works. I have to let the conductor do the talking. But if you can play yourself, you'll be much better, because you're your best interpreter of your own music, right? Right? Okay. So when I ask you, when you look at this piece of work, what kind of genre do you think would appropriately fit? Symphonic is good. Okay, what else? You think it's you still think it's classical?
Yeah, I don't see anything like techno or anything coming out of that really.
Well, you could, but with everybody saying symphonic, I think you'll be in trouble if you say techno if you have to work.
I see metal.
Huh?
I see some metal.
Yeah, you can have some metal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, impressionism.
It's all your own personal interpretation.
Okay, yeah. So let's just stick with symphonic. Everybody wants symphonic. Okay, y'all think that it's symphonic. Okay, let's just think symphonic. Okay, when it's symphonic music, how are you going to have symphonic? If you're going to create a work like that, how are you going to have it performed? You're going to have a symphony to perform it, right? So you're thinking maybe a chamber group, a smaller group, in a way? Okay. All right. how can you color then your work so that it would correctly or accurately reflect the work? Okay, go ahead.
Add on instruments one by one in different octaves, I guess. And then once it gets to the bigger stuff, hopefully it kind of carry that through.
Okay,
That's
so
a very basic broad statement, but I mean.
see, because my next thing with music is dynamics. We have not spoken about dynamics. We talk about different instrumentation, okay, so dynamics. So you're talking about dynamics by adding octaves and stuff, kind of like the organ. You add stops. And where is the climax going to be? If it's the case, it's very obvious. The climax is going to be over here. That is, if you are thinking of it as a whole, okay? So now if you are thinking of it as just by itself, are you not going to have any climax? There's some nice colors over there.
It almost looks like a story, just a little out of, in my brain, I put the third slide in the middle, so you have a beginning where it's slow and it starts off real peacefully, and in the middle is the climax. It gets really big and it's all spread out, and you start adding all the octaves and stuff. And the middle pane almost looks like you come back down and you finished, and all that comes to closure.
Yeah, and
But-
remember we talked about themes. I have not seen this before. This is the first time, just like you, first time. Remember we talked about themes. Look at this part right here, and look at this part right here. It almost looks similar. You see that? So you can have your themes, but this part right here also has kind of the shape, except it's different color in a sense. It's not dark. Here it's bright. So you can have that theme recurring in a sense. There you can have your connectivity. Okay, that's just me. I'm seeing it. Also in music, we talk about introduction. There's a such thing as introduction where the themes are not introduced. And then you can have your main theme introduced, which is the core of your composition. And we call what at the end we can call more layman's term, tag. But orchestral composers call it a coda. You've heard of codas, right? A coda. So you can have a coda here. So things like that, something for you to think about too, all right? Okay, creativity. How many of you sit on an instrument and play? Okay, good. Do you create a new piece by doing that, or is it just for fun?
Depends on what I'm trying to accomplish.
Okay.
I was going to ask you the same thing when you go to compose.
Uh-huh.
Are you sitting down and listening in your mind for certain things, or do you sit down at that instrument and start just picking out sounds and finding, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, a little bit of both. That's the reason why I asked the question, because music is a language. It's a language. So every time a piece of music has a composer, it just doesn't happen. And the music is always a work that expresses the composer, whoever the composer is. Also in a smaller scale, the performer. The composer composes a work for a reason. There is feelings, there is a means of expression. What is the composer thinking when he writes a piece of work? I mean, of course, people will say, man, he's just thinking of making money, so that's the reason why he wrote the work. He's working. True, yes, but composers still have some sort of inspiration. They don't just write. And then the performer plays it, sometimes the performer plays it, in expression of what he or she is feeling. That again can be a little bit different. Everybody plays Chopin differently. It's the same notes, but it's differently because of who the performer was. But Chopin, of course, has a reason why he wrote the work anyway to begin with, right? So it's a language. What I do, I tend to, if it's for fun, it all depends on my mood. So let's just take the simple scale. We all know this from Sounds of Music. So re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? Okay. How do you harmonize this? You can go all major, or you can do all minor, or all diminished. You can do a lot of things, but then mix it up. So it depends on how I feel, right? I can go. Scale is still there. All sorts of things you can do. Just with that, right? So creativity is part of composing, and then have fun. Have fun with it. You can do. Scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So creativity is one thing I'll be looking for. All right, because I don't want what 10 groups, and all of them is this, because this one is also very avant-garde. So you get this sound, and I don't want to hear this with all 10, because at the end of the night I'm like, okay, this is all too over my. You see. Things like that. All right. Okay, somehow, somewhere it needs to make sense. All right, it needs to make sense. So, create, yes, but think out of the box, yes, but still it needs to have some sort of a form and structure, especially when you have a piece of art that is dictating. Like I said, visual is very, very strong. It's very, very strong. Now, this is not big, but when it's all done, it's going to be a very big piece. Very big piece. So no matter what you do with your music, everybody is still going to look at the art and say, this music does not fit the art. Because that's what they're going to say. They're not going to try to fit the art to the music. There's no way. It's not going to happen that way. And John Williams knows it very well. When he writes, he knows that his music is going to have to fit the film, not the film to the music. Okay? His music has to fit that film. All right? Now, when we talk about writing a piece for a piece of art, a piece of music for a piece of art, what would you think would be the greatest challenge? Greatest challenge.
Deciding what to agree on with your teammates.
Yeah, okay. What else?
Satisfying the artist.
Satisfying the art.
The artist. I mean, the person who's brought this to you and asked you to put it together.
Oh, yeah, no, that's true. That's
You
true.
have to
Someone
consider-
says, yeah, that's true. That's correct. I wasn't thinking of that, Steve. Go ahead.
Like attention to detail, especially for stuff like this. Like it's much easier probably to write for like Van Gogh's Starry Night picture than this. This is just completely different art.
That's hard.
I don't know, I can see some.
Is there a title to the work? Is there a title to the work?
Creative Force Tryptych is the name of the piece.
Okay, see, Creative Force Tryptych. So when they hear your music, they need to go, oh, that is Creative Force Tryptych. Yeah.
Creative force, with a force.
need to
With
look
a
up
force
Triptych.
with it.
And the force, yeah, Triptych. Yes, sir.
People interpret art differently, so. you know,
Correct.
The musicians and people that compose it, but got to try to second guess and keep that into account. Because who knows what this person hears and thinks about. You and I would have a very violent disagreement over what that means.
Yes, that's true.
Compose that.
That's true. So, you know, that you have that to your advantage in the sense because it doesn't show you, you know, like a scenery in the beach. Then, you know, it'll be harder. But now you can write whatever music you write, just as long as it describes the visual, actually the music might help the person looking at the picture to have some sort of an idea, you know, because we look at things differently. Someone might just look at the, you know, at this piece in the middle and say, oh, I see the explosion, you know, and some might say it's a flower. I mean, you know, and some might say it's a fish. See that? So, you know, so you can kind of, so music, in a way, I think to be specific, withdrawing the sound, colors, and also dynamics too, that might be a problem, but that's not what I'm looking for as the greatest problem with writing a piece of music to a piece of art. Now, if you ask me, have I ever done that before? Not a piece of art. Mine is not a still. Mine is a movie, kind of a documentary. So you have movements and pictures are more clear, the sceneries are more clear, but this one is a piece of art that's kind of abstract in a sense, you know, and so I'm still asking the question, what is the hardest?
Establishing essential themes to reflect the art.
Okay. Well,
Like once you figure out essential theme, you have to be able to interpret that and make it to where everyone in each area, depending on wherever they are, and artists or not artists, if they can relate that essential theme as well.
oh yes, that's true. Because see, if a person sees only one panel and then moves from one panel to the other, not in sequence sometimes, you know, will they still be able to get that central, means knowing this is still one work in a whole, you know, like a piece of symphony. When you do symphonies used to be 3 movements, it went to 4 movements, eventually became 5 movements thanks to Beethoven, but 3 movements, and music usually is kind of fast, slow, very fast. That's the tempo. So that's what I'm looking for. My question, the answer to the question is tempo. Have you not thought of tempo? We've talked about themes, we talk about sounds, we have not talked about tempo. Tempo is another thing. Fast, slow, moderately slow, very slow. You know, all those kind of things are also important in music. Lots of things you can do with music, but you need to know how to use it and utilize it, you know, correctly in order, because now we have a piece of art too that dictates us, all right? So tempo, that's a very hard thing. Again, you're going to get into problems because, no, I think this should be fast or slow. No, I think this should be fast. You know, I think this should be moderate. So let's just discuss this first part. What do you think the tempo should be? Slow. Slow, okay. Slow. Second part.
Kind of a build-up of
Yeah,
tempo.
it starts to build up.
More dynamic.
And faster. Tempo, faster. Yeah. What about the third one?
Fast.
Fast? Why would you think fast?
I see it as kind of like the galaxies You know how like the
What was
explosions
that?
basically set up.
Okay, what about that big hole in the middle? That big black hole in the middle?
Like,
Uh-huh.
slow, but a laid back.
It's hard to argue.
More moderate in a sense, yeah? Yeah? Okay.
Fade out with the music of one to another.
Fading out, that's something interesting, fading out. Okay, that explains a little bit about that. Oh, okay. Very good. I like it. I like all these ideas coming out. Okay? Are we still, we are almost out of time. Any questions?
Do you start from here that way or you start from?
That's up to the team.
Play us another song.
Probably from here to there. That's how you would, that's how you want it, right?
Either way.
Because you can't, because the unveiling, you cannot, are you gonna unveil that first? You can do that?
Unveiled in the order that the music makes it. So I didn't define which is left, which
Okay.
is start.
So this wasn't created all as one piece? It was separate, this is one fractal, this is another fractal, this is another? Or was it all one fractal that was split into
All
thirds?
one.
Yeah, it's all one.
So it is actually
It's
there
a
is actual
continuation, you can
progression
see
there.
some parts right here, some parts right here, you know, so it is all one, and I think it.
Yeah,
should
even like
move
you said, a
from
fish, it
this
crosses over.
Side to that side.
Let's want to be complicated.
Yeah, but the unveiling, so these are things you have to think about, because what's going to happen next? Because the unveiling, I do not know how they're going to unveil that first, and unveil this one. I think you should go this way. I really think so, but of course, if you want to choose to do something different, well, surprise me. I'm game for surprises. Yes.
I was gonna ask if you could play what you think should go with this.
I know that question is coming.
I just want to see how you go about just your feet.
Okay.
Prejudice.
Do you need to turn around to see?
Huh?
I
No, I
said-
can't remember it. But before that, any other questions?
What's the duration on it? Like, how long can it time limit?
Oh yeah,
Any limitations on the length of the songs or?
Minimum of 1 minute per panel. It can be as long as.
there is only a minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah, no maximum.
maximum.
But please don't make me stay there for 3 hours. So, yeah, it just cannot be less than a minute, but there is really no restrictions in the length. Sorry
Can we
again?
use voices?
Yeah, you can use voices as
Oh, that's
well.
a great.
No, you can use lyrics if you want to.
Oh, yeah, good, 'cause I can't play any instrument.
You can use lyrics. I mean, let your imagination and your creativity just flow. Or rhythm, if you want to write just a piece just with rhythm, you know, if your rhythm works just with drums and percussions, you can do that. As long as it tells me, yes, the work fits, you know, the piece of
The
art.
theme has to follow through.
Could be any style.
Could be any style, yes. What else? Go ahead.
Have you composed for any movies?
No, no movies yet. Not yet.
So are we allowed to use little auxiliary instruments along with, include that in the main part to like play with these stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure you can. You can do, yeah, as long as it, you know, you can set it up and make it work. It should be, you know, electronic music. I mean, I've done pieces with just electronic. So if you record the piece and it can be played back, it's fine too. So, any other questions?
What does it look like too?
Wait, what does it? It looks more to me like the universe. Something you see in space.
Like a
Like a
nova.
galaxy.
Looks like a birth. It's the birth of a galaxy or something, yeah.
Actually, it looks like the death of the sun. First it goes in and it
Yeah.
explodes and then a black hole.
But then a new life comes out of it, and that new life eventually is going to die off. But that dying off can go back there, which is going to create another life over there. See? So it can be a rondo form, so to speak.
Just play the planets.
I know. So, all right, no more questions? Well, that's good. So you're all confident. So I'll be back next year sometime to hear some wonderful works. Okay, now this is my interpretation of this work. Okay? fun with it, all right?